Live on WFLA Now. This is Run for Fun with running enthusiast Leigh Spann.
Let's go. Welcome back to the WFLA Now Stream Center for this week's episode of Run for Fun with Leigh Spann. Of course, each week this show focuses on ways to make running and walking and really any exercise just a little bit more fun. I'm host Leigh Spann, and I'll be honest, really one of the things that makes running the most fun for me is running with other people. So that's what we're going to talk about today, running well with others. You see it at the bottom of the screen there. We even want to do that for you sort of on the virtual stage. We've created a virtual running group on the app Strava. And yes, we love the fact that we now have 76 runners. If you want to join this virtual group, you want to download the free Strava app. That's Strava. And then go to the groups, and in the groups, look for clubs, and that's WFLA or Run for Fun. And then not only do you get to interact with people virtually, sort of running well with others, even in the virtual world, but we also have Coach Maria, who is in the group, and she has been posting all of her runs as well, so that you can see what she's doing. You can also see that she's a 5K training program right in there, which is a lot of people pay for that, and you're just giving it to them on Strava for free.
Yeah, we're doing our own thing on Strava. It's fun. It's been fun to see what everybody's doing.
It really has. So,
especially Nick. It's fun to watch Nick.
Yeah, so we're going to check in with
Do you feel
Nick.
like you're being stalked, Nick?
No, it gives me more motivation. I like it.
That's good.
All right, so Nick is our 5 a.m. producer here at WFLA. Everybody waved it. Everybody, there's Nick. And this is his nighttime. He's usually in the bed about this time.
In bed, yep.
So not only did we coerce him into running a 5K and letting us train him for several weeks, but we also ruined his sleeping schedule. So sorry about that, Nick. But we wanted to check in with you, and these are the pictures that you sent me from your run last night, which is basically when you wake up. So your morning. It was
this
about
around like 5:30.
Yesterday.
Now, which run was this?
25-minute.
Okay, good.
25-minute run. Yep.
Okay, so what is the difference you see, Nick, as we check in with you? And
Well,
the one on the left and the one on the right.
Well, the same. I mean, I'm handsome in both pictures.
Yes, clearly.
Now the left one, smiling. I don't look as red in the face. I'm not sweating. That was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes into the run. On the right, you can clearly see that's at my apartment. That's right when I'm about to walk into the door up to the stairs, and I just look like red like a tomato.
All right, so as opposed to some of the other runs where it was cooler, you felt the difference, right?
I definitely did. Like I said before this, running back home in Philadelphia for that 1 week around Christmas time, for some reason the cold, I didn't really feel it. I felt like I could keep up the pace.
Yeah.
It felt good. I'm going to take off the sweatshirt next time I run in the heat because that was not a good idea. So.
Well, it's interesting because you said it was harder, and you said those extra 5 minutes felt like a lot worse to you.
Just mentally.
Yeah, well, and it also is physically because it is harder, and it's kind of a weird temperature because last night it was warm, but it was really the dew point was high, so the temperature and the dew point were closer together, which makes it harder.
It was tough.
So it actually is harder.
Yes, and I also have to find a different like running route because I'm so used to running that 20 minutes, and right when I got back to where the 20-minute mark hit, I was like, okay, now I need to go find another 5 minutes to run, and I didn't really think that through.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Switch it up. So
I need to find a new route. So yeah.
So what, Nick, tell us about your all three runs. So that was the last one that was 25 minutes, it's 5 more minutes, but there was one in the middle that was a harder run overall, what we call that workout.
It was good. It was the interval one where you sprint for the minute, jog. It was great. It felt good, except for the last two. The 7th and 8th one, it was an uphill battle, but I felt great at the end. I felt very accomplished after doing that one, and I definitely think it helped out. Just helped out with breathing wise and all that. Just really expanded my chest. It felt like I don't know. Yeah,
that's good. And did you stay pretty similar pace, or did it get harder as it went? Did you slow down as you went?
It got harder. I started off pretty fast, and I really pumped my arms. I don't know if that's what I'm saying. I wanted to get longer strides because I felt like, okay, the longer we get there, or the bigger strides, thought it would be better. But towards the end, I was
Yeah, it's always going to be hard. It's always going to be
got
hard
a lot
at the end.
shorter, but it
But
was
that's
good.
what helps you at the end of the 5K when it gets hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this week
Okay.
we're going to do 4 by 4 minutes.
Okay.
So you're going to do those at a moderately hard pace. You're not going to go all out.
4 by 4.
So, and then you're going to take a 2-minute granny jog walk recovery in between.
So walk him through. So you still do a
Yeah.
warm up.
Still do your 10-minute warm up,
Okay.
nice and easy.
Yeah.
And then you do 4 minutes. And I would try to do it progressive. So it's like starts off kind of easy and then gets faster as the 4 minutes go, so that the last minute is your fastest minute.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
And then you have 2 minutes of walk jog recovery.
2 minutes of walk jog recovery,
Yeah.
and then another 4.
And then you're going to do another 4. And you're going to do
Okay.
it total of 4 times.
Okay. Well, if
So-
you're watching, I don't know if you just saw me take a gulp. I was like, gulp. Okay. This is gonna be fun.
You can do it.
So
So you have longer recovery in between. So it'll be, and don't be afraid to really take the recovery. So you're just really, go by minutes. So you
Yes.
don't have to race your recoveries. You just want to get your breathing back down to normal and then do it again.
Perfect.
And then you're going to do a 10-minute cool down.
So it is going to be a longer time frame. I mean, you're
Yes.
gonna, give yourself a significant chunk of your evening to go out for a run, because that's
Yes.
16. That's 6 minutes per 4. So that's 24
Yeah.
plus 10 and plus 10. So that's 44 minutes that you'll
Yeah.
be out there.
Oh, I thought this was just 4, 2, 4 break.
So
Or
you do four. You do four.
4 of them.
4 minutes.
Yeah, 4.
Oh, Lordy Lord. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
this is
So,
fun.
and that's
We're
why
running
you're
for
not
fun.
doing them all out. You are
Right.
not doing them all out because you will never make it through the 4 minutes. So just remember, really start conservative. You can start at your easy run pace
Okay.
and then just progressively get a little faster each minute. There's
Yes.
there's no wrong except for if you go too fast and you can't make it through the 4 minutes, or your last 4 minutes is basically walking because you couldn't sustain it,
Okay.
right? So you're always better off being conservative.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then the only other thing I'm going to change is you're going to have your normal 20-minute run, and then you're going to go up to 30 minutes on your other easy run.
Okay. To 30. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to start off first run of the week, right? You're saying 20 or
Yep, 20.
20, really, really hard run. If someone sees me lying on the Pinellas Trail, please call 911. And then
It'll be okay.
And then the third one, we go 30 minutes.
Yes.
All right.
Nice and easy.
And
We got
remember
this.
with your
We're good.
easy run pace, when the dew point gets higher, that can go slower.
Mm-hmm.
You can go slower because it's not a pace, it's a feeling.
Yes.
So if you feel like it's hard, then you got to back it off a little bit.
I definitely felt that last night.
Yeah.
Because in the video that you sent, you said, I don't think I could say my ABCs.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And that was
Uh-oh.
within 5 minutes too. I was like, wait, time out. Like,
Yeah.
because I was going
But
at
you know
a
what?
good
That's
pace,
a
I
very
felt.
common mistake. It's a very common mistake because people get in the mindset of, oh, my easy run pace is X.
Yeah.
But your easy run pace is a feeling. It's not a pace.
Interesting.
So try really hard to pull it back on the hotter days, or even if you're tired. If you're really tired, because that workout's going to be tough this week. So
Okay.
if you're extra tired, go extra slow.
Make
Good,
that
yeah.
30-minute run the same distance as your 20-minute run.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That'll force you to.
That's what Leigh does. It works really
yes,
well.
To say like, I'm not going to go any farther than this, but I
Mm-hmm.
run really slow.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if I can make it to that 30-minute run. So we'll be good. We'll be
So,
good.
and one of the reasons why we're doing it this way, that you can talk about the 5K itself, it's 3.1 miles. So you want to keep increasing your time and distance,
Yes.
so that you're running just as hard, if not harder, at the end of that 5K.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't
And
give
right now,
out.
the 2 miles, it felt good. Definitely the 5 minutes towards the end, very tough, but we'll be great. I'm excited. So I think we're on track to doing a really good
Yeah.
5K.
Totally.
All right. So, and Nick, this is going to be a crazy couple of weeks for you, because it's 3 weeks to the 5K.
It's crunch time.
You've got the Eagles. Your Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and it's your birthday.
And
Oh
like,
my
I have
goodness.
like
Let's show us how we can stay on track.
I have like 13 friends coming down.
Oh my goodness.
One, like, few come down on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. They stay till Monday. Let's say a prayer now, but
Oh, that'll be fun.
Well, we wish.
I got to stay on track for that one.
I know that you have been, you have big fan of the Eagles, so I know
Yes,
that makes
go
you very
Birds.
excited.
That'll be
They're
very
gonna be in the
exciting.
Super Bowl. Now, you have your plan. We
Yes.
have checked in with Nick, and we have seen the progression of your smile to this was a little too hot, I'm never wearing this sweatshirt again. And I know it seems a little, look at me, look at me, look at me, but look at the weather.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
when I tell you that it is more humid today, no, that means you're going to have to be, not wear the sweatshirt and go slower.
And would you also recommend running at night, real quick? So, would night or day, does it make a difference?
Well, it all depends on the weather.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
sometimes it's cooler at night, but it's close temperature and the dew point are closer together, and that means that the air is more saturated, and so the relative humidity is much higher at night when there's a lot of moisture in the air. So it can actually make it harder, even though the temperature itself is lower. We're going to have a whole lesson
Yes,
on this on
we
another
are.
episode.
Yes.
So, but just know that you want to look for the lower dew points. If we get dew points in the 50s, that's when you want to choose to go out and run.
And here's the other thing. Is it going to be humid this week, Leigh?
It will be humid all the way up until Friday, when Friday is a little rainy. So
Okay.
yeah, actually this weekend's going to be a break in the humidity.
Okay, so Nick, remember this, and this is also for the listeners out there. If you can't hit your paces that you were hitting before, it's not because you're getting out of shape or it's not because you're getting worse. It's literally because of the weather. So you just kind of mentally have to get through it and just know, because they will be slower than.
See, you guys make me feel so much better. I come in here all distraught, thinking I'm not doing what I should be doing.
Because we know how brains work.
and I
know
leave here
how
with a
brains
smile.
work.
I look at Run for Fun. I'm having a blast.
Well, I'm
That's
glad
good.
you're
This is
having
great.
a blast. We're going to let you go to bed now, but thank you so much,
Yes.
Nick.
Good night.
And Maria will put all of that on our
On Strava,
On
yep.
Strava. You can check to see, make sure Nick didn't die in the 40-minute run, 45-minute run that he has. You can pick him up off the ground if you see him, but I have no doubt you're going to do a great job.
It's going to be great. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Good night, Nick.
Take care and go.
All right, so Maria, so we're going to turn now to our actual topic for the day: running well with others.
Yes, it's sometimes hard to run well with others.
It is. Right, yes, I laughed when I put that at the bottom of the screen because it really did feel like something that would be in your kindergarten report
Yes,
card.
that's true.
Runs well with others. So running well with others, it can mean a lot because it really is important of who you run with, how you pick those people,
Yeah.
and whether they are helping you or
hurting-
hindering you.
yeah,
Because it's
hurting
not
you,
just, running with other people is more fun generally, but if they are pushing you too hard or making you run a different pace than you can,
Yeah.
it can really be a problem.
Yeah, and a lot of run groups don't have coaches, so they don't know how to run properly either. So typically they're running faster than a normal easy run would be. So you got to do your work and kind of, do some investigation
And some
into
some
these
dating.
groups. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, you got to date.
you
You
gotta
got to date
date.
some run groups.
So so in our run down today, running with others, how to act, meaning basically kind of like etiquette when running with other people, because a lot of times people, I would say the majority of the time, people start running alone. And then it still can get a little awkward when you start
Yes.
running with other people. So, and then we'll also talk about how it can help and hinder. And joining us in the Stream Center right now is my friend Joe Pastillo. Hi, Joe.
Good morning.
And Joe is part of our running group. And I asked him to come on today because he has a pretty funny story about how he chose to go from being a solo runner to being in a group runs and what that meant. So Joe, you take it away. Tell us first of all, tell us a little bit about why you chose from being a solo runner to wanting to be with a group.
So I had started, I had run a marathon, a spring marathon, so meant winter training, which was nice. I could run by myself. It was cool outside. I didn't have any problems doing the long miles or anything like that. And then I signed up for a fall marathon, which meant summertime running. And like Nick, it's hot outside. And I was running in the middle of the night, and I realized that I wasn't doing as well as I thought I should have done in the middle of the night. I was getting very frustrated because the miles seemed hard and it seemed long, and it wasn't fun. I didn't want to do it. And, mentally I knew I had a marathon to train for. I knew I had to do it. So I kept pushing myself. And there were many times I came home early in the morning after a very long run, just winded, dizzy, and there's got to be a better way to do this. So That's why I started looking to see, how can I do this? And I know when I'm in races and being around people, it's motivating. It's exciting to be around people when you're running. And it kind of gives you a boost. You kind of run a little faster maybe, or you try to keep up with the person or try to pass the person in front of you. So, and I going to different races and being in different races, I would see the tents set up and I would see the team shirts and I would see all the camaraderie that all the running groups had. And I want that. I miss that. As an athlete, I want to see the professional, be part of a group and everybody standing there at the end cheering you on, and so that's where I started looking for a group to run with. So,
And that's very astute to know that like what I need is some help from people. I need motivation.
That's in the summer. It's especially important. It's very important to have a group.
Because there will be plenty of days when you don't want to go out.
Yeah.
But if you know that your buddies are out there waiting on you, texting you when you oversleep one time, Joe, but that's fine. Texting you, like, hey, where are you? Are you okay? Like, so there's a little bit more of accountability out there.
And likewise in the winter in New England too. It's very difficult to get out of bed and get out there in the winter too. So if you have to meet people, it's much easier.
Yeah, in the summer especially, it was very hard to get up to do, knowing you had 10, 12, 15 miles to go. Like, I don't want to do this. It's going to be miserable today, and it's hot, and I would watch the weather, and it's like, it's going to be 80 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't seem fun at all.
Because you are also on a crazy schedule.
Right.
Nick works overnight. You work overnight because you work with other countries. So you're on the phone. And so none of us work normal hours, it seems like.
No.
Maybe that's a thing with runners. So Joe has told this story, I don't know, 15 times in his lifetime. So he shows up at our group run, which is on a Saturday. We run along Bayshore Boulevard. That day we were running on Bayshore Boulevard, and you showed up, and we start running down Bayshore. So I'll let you take it from there.
So I show up very nervous to this run group, and
wait, can I ask one question first?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you find the group?
So. I had seen the various team tents at different runs I had been in, and the team shirts. So I started there.
Okay.
Then I went to the internet and just run groups in the Tampa Bay area.
Okay.
And it was trying to find a run group that was a serious run group.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard to determine, but based on the time and what I could see for distance. The runners were running. It wasn't let's go 5K and then have a beer somewhere. This was serious. These folks are getting 10, 12, 15 miles, and that's what I needed because I was in marathon training for Marine Corps.
I just always wonder where people find the clubs. But go ahead.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with the beer clubs either.
No,
you
absolutely
run
not.
your 3 miles and have your beer.
Depends on what your purpose is, right?
I'm plenty good with the 3 miles and a beer. Nick will get educated to the 3 miles with a beer too. So, so I show up to the first time, and there was a large group of people at the group event, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and very nervous, very intimidated. I'm looking around, and I'm seeing all these professional looking runners, and here I am. I'm not a professional runner. I had run a marathon at that point, but I had did it all on my own. I didn't have any instruction. I didn't know if I did it right. To me, I finished the marathon, so that meant I did it right to me.
Somebody gave you a medal.
Somebody gave me a medal and a T-shirt.
There you go.
So I did it right. So I show up, and I had always run alone. I never run with anybody in my life as far as training is concerned. So I always wore headphones to listen to music, podcasts, stuff like that. So I show up. Very intimidating group. I actually met Coach Maria at the first run group.
I heard this story this morning, and I didn't even remember it. So
I thought to myself, I said, wow, this group has a coach. This is what I was looking for. This is not sure what I want. They have a coach, and there was such a respect for the other people as a group. So we start out running, and immediately, and I remember taking the picture, and in the picture, I'm so far off the side of the group because I didn't want to get in the middle. I didn't know anybody.
Where do I stand? What do I do?
Right. you know, and I've taken pictures before. This is not that difficult, you know. So, but you can clearly see in the picture my headphones are around my neck. So we start running, and of course I put my headphones in, and we're off down Bayshore. And we made it about a mile, and I was running with the group, and I thought to myself, this is good. I've got people around me. I'm kind of keeping pace with everybody, and I was running a little slower actually than I normally do, which is fine.
Now you know that's what you do.
That's what I do. I didn't know that, but so about a mile into the run, I get a tap on my shoulder. Who's tapping me? And I look over, and it's Leigh, and I knew who Leigh was. I see her on TV. I see her on billboards. I watch the news in the morning. I knew who she was. I take my earpod out, and she asked me very nicely, "What are you training for?" "A marathon." I put my earpod back in.
Wow. That's also, well, then we'll talk about that later.
The etiquette, yes.
Etiquette. Yeah.
Yes. Again, I didn't know the etiquette of a run group.
No, well, you're going to find, everybody's going to find out.
So I put my AirPod back in. We got another 25 yards down Bayshore, and I get another tap on my shoulder. Take my earbud out, and it's still Leigh. And she's like, "How far do you have to run today?" 16 miles. Earpod back in.
Wow.
I was determined.
I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was a mile and a half into 16 miles. I was not in the mood to talk to anybody at this particular time. Another 25 yards goes by, and I get another tap on my shoulder. And at this point, I'm thinking, "Damn it, news lady, I know who you are. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
I've seen you before, you know." And that was my thought.
News lady. I love it.
News lady, you know, and so I took my earpod out, and, you know, and she asked me another question. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, you know, I joined a run group to
I concede.
to meet other people. I will take my earpods out, and I will start talking to other people. And at that point, I took one earpod out, and we started talking, and it turns out everybody wanted to talk to me at this particular run. Okay, I took my earpods out, I put them in my pocket, and for the next 14 miles, I chit-chatted with everybody, and from there, I've never run with earpods in my life again.
Yeah,
So,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So it's thank you for telling the story, Joe.
You're welcome.
Because it was for me, I literally can remember going like, tap, tap, tap. And then you put it back in, and like, no, tap, tap.
Yeah.
This is because I knew that's very, you know, I have been in that exact same spot. I went to my first run group with my earphones and wondered, like, is this right? You know, and what I wish is that somebody would have said, "Hey, take those out, let's talk." So I was like, I'm not going to let this guy run like 16 miles next to us without you know, seeing the benefits of what a run, what a group of people can do. Even if one person, even a partner, as we're going to be talking about. But I thought that Joe's story really encapsulated what people feel like, whether it's you've already run a marathon, whether you've run 1 mile in your life. When you go to run with someone for the first time, a group of people or or a partner, there's a lot of intimidation. Whether it's again a friend who you've never run with, even if it's a person you already know, when you get out there, it can feel so different.
Yeah. So a couple of things. In terms of etiquette, when you first come to, I actually do think you should bring headphones the first time. I don't think you should wear them, but I always say bring it because it's a kind of a crutch. Like, you know, if you don't know the paces and you don't know the people, sometimes you can get left behind. So if you have that crutch, it's not as scary. So you're not running by yourself, but hopefully you get there and you're not running by yourself. I think that's the biggest fear when people are going to a run club. Am I going to be fast enough? Am I going to be able to keep up? If you're on the slower side, or if you're a run walker, I would look for a group that is a run walking group or something that has walking in the title, because that's typically the group that's going to be a little bit more inclusive to the walking.
And there are plenty of them.
Yes, there's plenty of those groups. The other thing is, like, groups with the name Striders, those are typically the more competitive groups. It's just been the way it's been forever. They're probably the run groups that are the oldest in the area too. A lot of the, like, Tampa Bay Striders or whatever. So if it says Striders and you want a little bit more competitive group, That's a good way to do it too. Also, you can ask around before you go. I think it's always important to ask other people who have gone to the run group, hey, what's the vibe? You got to find the vibe, because we all have a different kind of vibe.
Right. And so, Joe, I don't know if I've ever asked you, did you go to other run groups? Did you run with anyone else, or did you?
No, that was
Okay.
the first time I had ever run, other than a race, obviously. But that's not really a group; it's just a bunch of people going in the same direction for a long time.
For a long time.
But no, I had never run with a group before. I had never, I just did the long miles and the short miles. I just did them by myself, and I thought that's how people train to go run. I mean, I did a lot of my training. I never had a coach before, Coach Maria. And I just, did my own research online. I didn't have the Strava app. I didn't even have fancy stuff prior to when I started marathon training. So I didn't know all of that. So yeah, that was my first group and first time experiencing, actually talking to other people and being around a close group of people that you actually know. When you're running a race, you don't necessarily know the people you're running with. So to know the people, it's a lot different experience.
So when you got home after that first run, what did you think?
I remember sitting on my counter and I was eating breakfast, and I thought I had a lot of mixed emotions. Wow, I don't know if this group is for me. I looked for a group that was going to run the distance. It checked all the boxes of everything I wanted. But mentally, I went, I don't know if I can do this with this group. I don't know if I can share as much as the group shares. I don't.
What did we say on that run?
Who knows? That's the problem. Right?
With 16 miles, you share
Oh,
a
that's
lot.
true. You
There's a
definitely
lot
do.
to
Yeah,
talk
it's a
about.
long time.
And I remember thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to do it once and not go back and do it again. And I have 14 miles next week, so I'll try it again. And at that point, I didn't bring the headphones back or anything like that. But I remember sitting there going, that was very, very interesting. Not something I was used to. I kind of liked it. I kind of didn't like it. I'm not going to be able to watch the news lady on TV anymore because she annoyed me. But and now I'm very good friends with you.
Yeah.
So
He had me over for Christmas dinner this year.
Aw.
How far we've come.
How far we've come.
So what are some of the things, Maria, that as far as etiquette is concerned? Because we giggled about the headphones because but there are other things. Even if you're not running with a full group, even if it's just maybe your neighbor says, hey, let's go for a walk together. Let's see if we can start running. Because I don't want people to think that there's only big groups. I mean, it can be one or two people on your neighborhood, but you still sort of should have the same etiquette,
Yeah.
with others.
So there's a couple of etiquette things that are like not really written in stone, but
Right.
things that I think are important. I think it's important to ask what the paces are around you. If you're coming into a run group and say, hey, I run 10:30 to 11 pace on my easy runs. And if somebody is faster, it is the job of the faster runner to run with the slower runner. So it is not like, remember I told you a couple weeks ago, I went to a new group run and the fastest runner in the group is a friend of mine, Chris McCaffrey. And he stayed back with me and ran 10-minute pace, even though he's a 2:33 marathoner. Because he knows that that's still very beneficial to him. So I think sometimes groups get a little competitive and they get a little, I think what people need to remember when they're going to a group run is that these groups have been running together a long time and they kind of get a bad rap of being like cliquey. And it's not, typically it's because they're running with the same people that are their pace. So it's natural for it to be cliquey. And when you're going in, you kind of need to treat it like any other relationship. Like, this is going to take some time. I got to keep coming back because I've had a lot of introverts tell me, I can't run in a group. Nobody talks to me. And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably true. But like, if you walked into a room full of people that you didn't know, you probably wouldn't get talked to much either. So I would say keep coming out, keep asking questions. Try to find people that are in your similar pace group beforehand, before you are running and trying to keep up, because that makes it no fun.
Right.
And if you don't have the communication about it ahead of time, it can feel like, oh, they just left me, but maybe they didn't know. So let's assume positive intent and have a communication about pace beforehand.
And no runner is ever going to be upset if you say, I'm running this pace. We'll either just say, I can't run that, or
Yes.
I will run that with you. There's
Yes.
about two answers. I can run that, or I can't, or and I will.
And depending on the group, some runners are, I have a specific pace I need to run today.
Right.
And that's fine. Then say, okay, awesome. Then I'm going to find somebody else. If you're intimidated by that, I would find a group that's pretty big, because the bigger the group, the more paces there usually are. So that can be something you're looking for if you're looking online for a group. Like, what's the bigger group?
And I wanted to, I was just telling Maria this morning on TV when I was promoting today's show, I said, you know what, the podcast today and the digital show is all going to be about finding how to run well with others, how to find your run group. And one of our members, Tracy, said, I just heard my favorite meteorologist talking about this week's run podcast. So she had some thoughts, and I told her I was going to.
Tracy always has thoughts.
Share those thoughts. I can't get down to the bottom ones because they start getting some foul language. But let's start with the first one. It says, if you need to say with your run people, whether it's a group, whether it's your next door neighbor, whoever it is, whoever you're running with, and if you feel like you're constantly having to say, oh, this might be too much information, then those maybe just aren't your people.
Yeah,
like
true.
You should be able to say did these. She will use the words later on, but you should be able to say just about anything. And they said, if you are running for your mental health, meaning if you're running for a long distance, your brain kind of does go dumb. And she said, you will not be able to do the following things: math, Jeopardy questions, tell the difference between Billy Joel and Meatloaf, and you will word vomit.
Yes.
It just means like you're looking forward, you're not having to look people in the eye. And so, as Joe mentioned, you share a lot. And she says, so you have to make sure that you trust those people, because as Joe found out, we share.
We do it. And that's, looking back on it, I have become very close friends with a lot of people in the group that I particularly run with. And when you're spending 2+ hours together, you share a lot, but that's also what brings me back every weekend to the group or during the week to run with the folks. Is I want to hear about everybody's week, because we all have such diversity in our lives and what we're doing, and so I want to hear how your move went, or I want to know what Leigh's week was like, and people want to know what my week was like, because we all do different jobs, and that makes it interesting. And it's amazing that 10 miles will be gone.
It goes by way faster.
And you go, wow, where did it go? Well, we're laughing, we're talking, we're telling jokes. Somebody's telling a funny story about them growing up and not being able to do something, or so it does become very fast miles as far as the time it seems that you're running, not necessarily the pace you're running.
And that's definitely, what I would consider the biggest benefit of having either a group or even a partner is just, where did those, the distance is the same, the time feels different.
Yeah.
It does seem to go by a whole lot faster. That's one of the benefits. Let's unfortunately back up, and we talked a little bit about some of the things that can be hindering, and that's if you're always trying to run too fast. Is there another problem, Maria, that people might have when they either try to run with a group or partner?
Yeah, when we're talking about conversations, if you can't have a conversation, you're running too fast.
And
and
you've lost the benefit.
You've lost the benefit. So, and not always. Sometimes I run with different groups based on if I have a workout, and I'll run with a different group that's a little faster than me, and I'll push the pace a little bit and let them do the talking and listen. But if it's your regular running group where you're running a lot of miles easy, then you need to be able to talk. And if you can't talk, like I've had so many people say, I don't know how you talk and run at the same time. I just couldn't do it. Well, most of your runs should be that way. Yeah. So if you can't talk, you're just running too fast. So you don't want to be chasing people down on a run. That's not going to help you.
And if you're just going to go with a running partner, so now, because one of the things I think about with a group is that there's 4 or 5 of you, only one of you has to be talking at the same time.
Yes.
So everyone else can be kind of sitting back. Because when you're talking, you do raise your heart rate a little bit. But
Yeah.
when it's just a running partner, when it's just, oh, I misspelled partner, just says parter.
That's okay.
But so, I know, Maria, in your life, you first started running with one of your best friends.
Yes, I've had many different partners over the
Parters,
long haul.
as-
Yeah. I know that sounds really sketchy, doesn't it? But I was going to say Beth, that I've run with the past 10 years. When I first moved to Tampa, I knew nobody. And so the first thing I was used to running with partners. So I really wanted to find one. And I was like, oh, geez, I don't know. And I've gotten pretty aggressive now because I'm like, I need that accountability. It's something I need. So she was running at a stoplight, like in the morning at 5:30, and she had a Boston t-shirt on the same year I did. So I'm like, I literally stopped her and I was like, hey, you want to run together? And she's like, well, actually I'm a solo runner. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't. Yeah. So then I'm like,
Was she wearing headphones? Did
no,
you tap
she
her on the
wasn't
shoulder?
wearing headphones actually. So I
you
was
tap her on
kind
the
of
shoulder? That
surprised,
works.
but I was like, sorry, Beth, but I did think you were maybe a little bit mean. But anyway, I came home and Luke was like, you did what? You just walked up to her? I said, yeah. Well, I didn't hear anything, obviously, and I kept running by myself. And then I went to a field trip with my daughter, and I saw her at the field trip. She had a daughter in the same class as my daughter. And I was like, oh, that's the runner. And of course, I'm like, I'm trying again. Because this is the point. You have to keep trying, keep showing up. Desi says it all the time, keep showing up. So I was like, hey, I've met you before. And she's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, no, I definitely met you. I met you at a stoplight and I wanted to run. She was like, oh, yeah. She's like, oh, I hope you didn't take offense. I just run by myself. And I'm like, yeah, you used to, but I really feel like we need to run sometime. So that's how we started running. She's like, okay, fine, I'll meet you. And she was actually one of those people that ran too fast every day. And so the first run I ran with her, I was dying. I'm like, oh gosh, I got to slow this girl down, which honestly has been the story of my life. When I go to a run group, if I don't have anybody to run with, I explain to people the science and I'm like, okay, guys, I need some partners back here. And I end up having a lot of partners because people start improving. And so then they're like, oh, okay, now we'll listen. But now Beth is so reliant on me. When I go away in the summers, she's like, I'll Peloton. I don't want to run. I'm like, oh, now you don't run without me? Like, what's the deal? But we're running London together in the spring. So
that's great.
We've been running for 10 years together.
So, what do people? So, when you start running with someone, a single person, what do you expect? Do you expect to be talking the whole time? Do you expect silence at times? Like, I just don't want people when they get out with someone to, I want them to kind of have an idea of what to expect.
Well, it depends. Like, it depends on the running partner, and this is why you have to kind of date running partners. Mm-hmm. Some people, I had one running partner in Memphis. I'm not going to lie. I ran with her when I first moved there because I didn't know anybody, and she was so boring. I was like, I'm never going to survive this. Like, it just was boring to me. So I dated around. I found another running partner, and it ended up being really great. But you kind of have to feel it out. You listen, you ask questions, and if it feels natural, it's right. I know that sounds so stupid, but it's not. Like, if it feels natural, typically it's people that are in similar stages of life than you, because there's so much life crap that goes on. And you want to be able to talk through that stuff with people that are kind of in the same boat as you. So that kind of helps.
And then, Joe, you never really have run with like one person. It's usually just the larger group. But how do you feel when you get to share, about your life?
Well, I did actually. I ran with Amber for a long time.
That's right.
During the COVID time. So running with one person is different than running with a group. I think you. I don't know if it's obligation to talk more, but you certainly. When you're running with a bigger group, you listen a lot more. And I found that there's some days I don't want to talk.
Absolutely.
And I just want to listen. And maybe it's a bad week, a bad run. I don't feel good. I ate the wrong food the night before, and I just want to listen. And then there's other times that I have to do the talking. Like, people want to hear from me. as strange as that sounds, but they want to listen to what I did this week or what I'm doing, next week, or plans that I have, or what have you, or just something to pass the time. Something, again, I used to listen to music. So to listen to someone run, I may not necessarily hear what they're saying, but I'm listening to them, and then I'll interject. And there's a lot of times where I run more miles than I'm supposed to run that particular day because of, the group wants me to run more miles because they want to hang out with me for a little while longer. Or I'm interested in a story that the group's telling. I go, okay, I'll go another mile because the story's not over, So so I end up running more, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is the pace. If somebody's having a harder day, hang back with them.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't hang back. I don't say that on race day. It really ticks me off when people are like, my partner, because on race day when you're trying to put your effort out there, nobody wants you to hang back with them. Nobody really, really wants that. So it's great when you're training with somebody to have somebody to kind of fall back on or somebody to hold you accountable to the pace. A lot of our runners are like, oh, hey, coach would be really mad at us if she knew we were going this fast. We got to slow down. So it's
that
an
is
accountability
said more often
thing.
than you know.
Yes, I know. It is a lot. And I appreciate that. I've built that community to be that way. Or if you have a pace run, and you're trying to work a little harder, run with somebody a little faster than you. If you have a group, you have many different people running very, very different paces, and you can run with people that you normally can't run with if you have pace run.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have found is that, Joe kind of alluded to it, that there's times when you're not having a good run.
Yeah.
And all you have to do then is just listen to everyone else talk and zone out and let, because you are still hearing it, even if you're not, actually in your mind
For sure.
Interacting with them, but just hearing that almost like music, almost like this, it's very helpful. It helps you, and because you know that there'll be another day when someone else is not having a good day, and now it's your
Absolutely.
responsibility to talk, be excited, tell them about your day, tell them about literally any story at all to keep their their momentum going.
And people that are in run groups now, I'm talking to you. Please remember what it's like to be the first person to show up at a group race or a group run, because it's everybody started as a new person, and it's very intimidating and it's very uncomfortable. And it's hard sometimes to keep showing up when people already have all these relationships developed. And I'm doing it right now in Jacksonville. It's not comfortable, but you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And people in the run groups, ask the new people what's going on. Ask them what pace they are. Ask them what they need to do today. Show interest in them so they feel like they can come back. And it's not just like, oh, hey, and then they take off and leave them in the dust. Because I asked my track group last night, I said, what's it been like for you guys to go to run groups? And I literally had two people. One person said, well, I got left in the bathroom at a group run. And I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, well, they just started without me and on my first day. And I'm like, oh, I don't love that.
Yeah.
Let's not leave people. And then number two, the other person said, well, I just ended up running alone anyway. Everybody just left me. And there is going to be some of that.
Yeah.
I can't lie to you and say that there's not going to be some of that. But I will say, take some responsibility, because there's some people, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say there's no slow runners there, nobody shows up, then nobody shows up.
Then you don't show up.
If you don't show up, then maybe that one time you decided not to show up, there was somebody there and they didn't have anybody. So it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy if you just,
I've actually taken that a step further and tried to take the tradition of new person with headphones, and I'm now the tap on the
Tapper.
shoulder.
Oh, I love it.
So every time there's someone new to the group, the first thing I do is look for the headphones, and and it never fails. They always have headphones.
Yeah,
and
it's a crutch. It really is a crutch.
I got this one, guys. This was on me. I got to carry the tradition on. So that's how
I love that, Joe.
That's how I've taken, you know, how Leigh and I met in my run group experience and being the first one there. And well, they're going to want to talk to us. So I will now, because I don't run with headphones anymore, I will now carry this tradition on to the next person. And I hope that person, if they leave the run group or they go run with someone else, I hope they do the same thing. I need to get this person's headphones out of their head.
And don't be afraid of the clicks. Like, don't be afraid of that.
Yeah, get on in there.
Yeah, because
elbow your way in.
Yeah, because here's the other thing. You're eventually going to have a click.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a bunch of people that are your pace. And so don't be afraid of, like, there's nothing wrong. Let's be honest. We all like people more than other people. Like, that's just normal.
When you date,
yes.
That's why you don't marry the first person.
There's people that are going to click more than others.
Yeah.
And so we can't take offense to that. We just have to, like, fight our way in. Keep showing up.
I just was thinking, actually, I hadn't thought about this story in many, many years, but as you guys know, my New Year's resolution is to do some yoga, and because I used to be really, really into it, but I have a distinct memory of walking into that first yoga room, feeling so out of, I didn't look like it. I mean, all the people had the right clothes on, and I was just wearing sweats or whatever it was. I can't remember what I was wearing, but it was not the correct clothes compared to what everyone else was wearing, and I didn't really even know and there was a man who I now, I didn't realize was also a teacher, but he was taking that class. And he just looked at me and said, it was all of our first time once. Here's what you do. Like, I was like, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Because that really was helpful that he said I don't even know if he knew, but maybe I said it was my first time or something. He was like, well, we have all made it here for our first time at some point. So here's what you do. And I was so very thankful. So I guess I took that and tapped Joe on the shoulder, sort of starting continuing that.
And apparently I told Joe he didn't have a choice. He had to come back. That's what I told him on the phone.
Yeah, that was the end of so 16 miles goes by. And I didn't know anybody. I was at that point tired and intimidated. I didn't want to go up to someone I didn't know and say, hey, can I have your telephone number? I'll meet you next week. What time's the group meet next week kind of deal? And Maria came up to me and right as I was walking away, and again, I didn't say goodbye. There was no, good to see everybody kind of deal. And Maria came right up to me and she got right in my face and she said, "You better come back next week." And so that was the final, vision of the group. But I wouldn't trade it for the world now. I've had the opportunity.
Relationships take time.
I've had the opportunity to travel with my run group, do destination races. I've had my group over the house. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my run group. I love the people in it too.
There's nothing like the relationships you build in a run group. There's just nothing like it.
It's amazing. It truly is amazing.
Well, and again, I think a lot of it is because you end up telling so much about yourself, where if you went to lunch with someone or you went to brunch with a group of people, everything is, you just don't spend 2 hours with no other distractions but you and those people. That's a 2 hour sometimes, time with them, and you do get really, really strong bonds with each other.
Yeah, and they cheer you on.
Yeah.
It's so nice to be at a race and have people that are like, "Hey, how'd it go? Like, how did you do?" And genuinely, they're happy for you.
Yeah.
Like, people sometimes are like, "Coach, why do you ask me how I did? Like, whatever." I'm like, because I genuinely care. I really like to see how people are doing. Whether you're a client of mine or not, it's fun to see people progressing in our sport.
And we always kind of want to bring this back that, there are those more fun run groups as well. I mean, the ones that literally are, we're going to start from this bar, we're going to run 3 miles, we're going to come back.
And there's nothing wrong with those
Please,
either.
those are amazing. I mean, you have to find where you fit in. And believe me, I will have a beer at the end of my end of my runs. So there's nothing wrong with just having fun either. It might not be that you have 16 miles that day. You might have 2 miles that day, and that's fine too.
And there's also no reason why you can't run with multiple clubs.
Yeah.
I sometimes, like when I just want a 3 mile easy run, I go to the Irish 21 pub run.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's relaxing. People are goofy and there's no pressure. You can actually be a run group,
You can hop around.
Yeah, you can
Don't
hop
say
around.
it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. But You can hop around and not get a reputation.
Have multiple partners.
You can have multiple partners and multiple run groups and be okay. And it's okay. Like, nobody should take offense to people going to different run groups, because the goal is that we're all becoming healthy, right?
Yeah.
We
Yes.
all want to get healthy. We want to be happy, and we want to have fun doing it.
We do. So that will conclude today's Running Well with Others, Run for Fun podcast episode. Again, it's mainly just whether you're running alone or walking alone or running with a group or running with a partner or walking with a partner, it's whatever makes you have fun, because that's going to be the thing that keeps bringing you back out there. And that's our goal. Our goal is to start a little healthier lifestyle. And however that means, whether that means that you find a partner, whether it means you continue to run alone, we just wanted to show you, some ways that we have found to have a little more fun and to do it correctly, so that you're not intimidated. And we thank Joe for coming in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for
It's
coming,
fun.
Joe.
Thank you.
And Maria, thank you as always. Coach, I hope you're finding your run group up in Jacksonville.
I'm working on it. I'm having some of those same intimidating feelings right now.
Yeah.
Like, my neighbor is actually in my run group, my new run group. I already signed up, but they don't even know me. Like, I'm like, kind of feel like I'm being all stealthy. But my new neighbor, the first thing I asked her, I said, well, what paces do you run on your easy runs? And she's like, well, I'm a 23-minute 5K. I'm like, I don't really care about that. Like, what pace do you run on your easy runs? She's like, oh, I'm like 10:30, 11. I'm like, perfect. We can run. Then she said, well, I run at 5:15 a.m. I'm like, well, that's not going to work
you
with
can
me.
get up at
I'm an empty
5:15.
nester. I'm not doing that anymore. So
Go tap someone on the shoulder.
yeah. So I'm like,
You may become lifelong friends
Yeah,
if you do that.
it
So
is
go
true.
tap someone on
I
the
need
shoulder.
to tap some shoulders. That's
you,
what I need
you
to
may
do.
become lifelong friends.
All right,
That's
thanks,
true.
Thanks, everybody. Again, this has been live on Facebook, live on our app, but you can still now, as soon as this is over, it will go to Apple Podcasts, it'll go to Spotify. It'll also be on our YouTube channel, the WFLA YouTube channel. So thanks again, everybody. It's been super fun, and we will see you next Tuesday for Run for Fun.